Good to see you, buddy. Oh, you should like this call extra, Keith. I think you will. Think you will. Glad you're here, man. So while people are still coming in, little icebreaker questions for you guys. When's the last time you picked up the phone and called a total stranger about their home? Drop it in the chat. It's okay to say never, or it's been a long time. Ooh, Faith and Keith, yesterday. Let's go. I like that. Coming in strong. What about you, Beth, George, Jacob, Joe? Beth said last week, I like it. There we go. Let's see. Juan. Rachel said 2 days ago. There we go. We're gonna have a good time then. I like it. Laura being honest, right? Too long ago to remember. I get it. Joe said been a minute. Appreciate the honesty. Also, Mary, if you're saying, Mary, you saying yesterday, every day, no one answers. Fabian might have some thoughts on that when we get into the Q&A, okay? And we'll get there. It might just be a numbers game. It might be where you're dialing from. It depends on that. A lot of people don't know this, but even some of your CRMs that offer auto dialers, if you dial from that, they're blocked. You actually have to have, it's like emails, you have to have like a warmed up number. You have to have a warmed up system. There's a lot of people that sell dialers that have totally blocked systems and they know it. Love it. So many people coming in. I'm trying to keep up. All right. Who's got their video on? Laura's got her video on. Hello, Laura, Keith, Rachel, Teresa. Good to see you. But we need some more. We need some more. Dina. Let's see. Ofer, Juan, Joe, Nathan, Beth, Margaret, Mary, Faith, George. Let's get those videos on, guys. Come on. Rachel, good to see you. Joe, this ain't a beauty pageant. It's okay. It's okay. Juan's got company. What's up? He's sitting in. He's ready. He's learning. He's like, let's go. Sonny, haven't seen you in a while, brother. Good to see you. Renee, there we go. Love it, guys. Love it. All right. So again, icebreaker question. When's the last time you picked up the phone and called a total stranger about their home? We've had some yesterdays, a couple days ago, last week, and too long to remember. Maybe even a couple never. I don't know. I feel like every real estate agent, if they've been at least a couple of years, they've at least called one time. One time. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy, but yeah. I mean, we might get into for sale by owners, Rachel. I mean, we've done a lot of for sale by owner training. So, Walter does a class on that too. We've had some other guests. We love our for sale by owners. We do. We do. And the good news is they love us. They do. Oh man. They become some of our best sources for business and referrals. Faith, good to see you. Hello, Felicia, good to see you. All right, it is 5 after. Let's get this party started. I respect your time, you respect my time, and then we all have a good time. Let's get into it. So, this is for all the agents who never know where their next lead is coming from, right? Need something that they can control, right? Maybe it's for the agents who avoid the phone because they're scared of what the person on the other side might say. And before you even try to pretend you don't, we do care. We do care. Rejection sucks. People talking poorly to us sucks. I don't care how tough you are. Nobody likes that, right? Nobody enjoys that feeling. Or maybe it's for the agents who tried cold calling once, twice, a few times, sporadically. Maybe you had a sprint for 30 days and you never went back to it, but something told you, man, I shouldn't have dropped that skill. I shouldn't have dropped that habit. I need to get back to it. But before we get into everything with Fabian, remember that there are 4 commitments for being on this call. Okay. A lot of you know them already. Number 1, video on. This is a group training. We are doing this for free for you guys, but getting a little bit of energy back by getting to see that there's real people and it's not AI bots or people's note takers is refreshing. We feed off of that energy. So let's get that video on. Distractions off. You guys are too smart to come to a training just to be distracted the whole time. I know what it's like. You know, I'm a real estate agent too. There's always someone to text. There's always a contract or an email to read. And then next thing you know, the call's over and you go, I don't even know what happened. And let's be real, you're not going to watch the replay. This is your one shot to get some great information to use to grow your business. Number 3 is participate. We might be asking questions, but you can get in there and ask questions as well. Drop them in the chat. We're going to save them all and try and get to everything. But you will get more out of this the more that you put into this. And then last but not least, in fact, it's the most important one. Go make someone else's day. Go bless someone else today. And you will get bonus points if they are a difficult person. All right. So with that being said, I'm going to give you a little scenario. I'm sure you guys have been through this before, and if you relate to it, I just want you to drop like an X in the chat. So there's a lead sitting in your CRM right now that you know could be your next listing. Especially, I know they've got some epic agents here. I mean, you guys have got thousands of leads just sitting. I know that, I checked. But every time you reach for the phone, the what ifs start. What if they're rude? What if they hang up on me? Let's take it up a notch. What if they cuss me out? Anybody ever had anybody tell them to go kill themselves? I have. I have. A little unnecessary, okay? Like, come on. Right? What if they ask you for something you don't have a good answer for? I know a lot of agents who are scared of cold calling because they feel like they need to have 1,000 different scripts memorized. And if they don't, they're not ready. So instead of making the call, you put the phone down and you find something else to do that feels productive, right? Something else. And you promise yourself you'll just start calling for real the next week. It'll happen next week when you're more ready. And what happens next week, guys? Do you start making those calls? Do you start doing those things? Or does something else get inside your head and you don't do the thing you promised yourself you would? Can anybody relate to that? Drop an X in the chat if you can relate to that. I know I can. I can absolutely, totally guilty of that. Without a doubt. There we go. Appreciate your honesty, guys. That was the real test. All right. So, as always, guys, I want you to say this with me out loud. Yes, actually say it. You ready? Things need to change. And here's the good news. They will. And it's going to start with you stop trying to be someone else on the phone. It's one of the favorite things that Fabian's going to bring today is you do not need to be all of the gurus who've taught you about cold calling, despite the way that they actually make it sound. And I'm with you, by the way, if you felt that. I've absolutely watched cold caller after cold caller, tons of them. And I've always felt I need to be them when I cold call. And Fabian's coming in and he's going to be telling you the exact opposite. Okay. Couple quick stats for you. Agents who make 20 plus dials a day hit a 10 to 20% success rate. That's a pretty huge margin of increase. Okay. Huge. It takes 6 to 8 attempts on average. You guys know this has been a range. There's always a range to reach a single prospect. Sometimes it's going to be more, sometimes it might even be less. Most agents, it says 2 or 3. I'm going to venture out and say that's generous. I think most agents don't ever reach out again. They try once and they're out of here. And this just comes from my experience. You guys know I've been coaching, I don't know, I've probably coached thousands of agents at this point, right? And then number 3, the 2 highest pickup windows are 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. and 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. And Wednesdays produce up to 50% more conversations than any other day. In other words, there's a bit of a method to this. There's a way to strategize to maximize the most. Because cold calling isn't a personality test. It isn't whether you're a high this or a high that, right? It isn't pass or fail. It is a skill you build with reps. You guys taking that in for a second? Because I bet you there's people who have told you that you can't do cold calling because of your personality type, that you can achieve certain things based off your personality type. As someone who has coached thousands of agents, I have seen every personality type do every type of lead gen and succeed at it. Every single type. I have seen the most reclusive, awkward speaking people crush it in cold calling. I have seen people who are terrible at events who still end up on stage and do a great job. And they all have something in common. And that's what Fabian's going to talk to you about a bit today, which is they were themselves. Flaws and all, they were themselves. So now let's get into it. So Fabian, I'll let you do most of the talking now, sir. So obviously, step 1 to get into this is to pick your farm. So why don't you just kind of jump in and share a bit about how they can go about picking their farm, picking the right people to go and talk to. And I just realized I don't think I made you co-host, so I got to ask you to unmute. There we go.
There we go. First off, thanks so much for having me. Really looking forward to jumping into this. So let me tell you guys a little bit about myself before we get a little any further. So I started back with Epic in January. So I'm only 7 months into this process. And I was exactly in the same spot that most of us either have been, will be, or are going through it right now. I was in the spot where I didn't know how to go about it, and I had all those questions that Rob just went over at the beginning. Just the what ifs. What are they going to say? What if they turn me down? What if they ask me something I don't know the answer to? Um, and so initially, when I started with Epic, we go through all of the training, the Rob Schneider training, the scripts, pretty much everything and anything in between. Epic is really good for training, and there's so many different tools that they offer. And so I told myself, let me give it a try. Let me go with the script. So through Epic, we have the Lofty CRM, and what I do is, so I'm based out of Southwest Florida, and there's probably 4-ish towns around where I live that I concentrate on. I do go further north, I do go further south, but I do concentrate on the 4 closest towns around me. So I will filter leads based on what town I want to work. And so what I'll work one town this week, another town next week, and I'll go back and forth in between them. So once I pull them, I'll just start cold calling. Before I start making the call, I do a little bit more research on the property in question. I like to kind of concentrate it to either expireds or canceled because I know those are motivated sellers that are actually looking
So before we get into that,
to
I actually have a question that because
go
I
for
think
it.
that's slide number 2. Do your homework first.
Oh, I'm going ahead.
No,
Sorry.
it's okay. It's okay. For a lot of people, picking an area is actually you know it, you're confident, but this is an area where a lot of agents get hung up on. Who do I call? So let's pick an agent. Let's say there's an agent who's not got four towns around them. They live in a big, they live in Nashville. They live in a big city, right? Which there are plenty of agents here that I know who do. How do they go find a neighborhood, an area? What are they looking for when it comes to who to call?
So the way I do it is I'm pretty familiar with the areas that I live near,
Hmm.
and I kind of centralize it to a specific, like for example, I live in Port Charlotte in Southwest Florida, and that's my home base. I don't specifically look for communities. I don't specifically look for a specific side of town. There, like you said early in the call, you said that there's thousands of leads, and that's 100% true. There's thousands of leads depending on where you are. In my
Mm,
area, just in this town, there's over 2,000 leads that are available for me to call. A lot of those leads are, there's leads that are newer, and then there's leads that are older. So depending on when they came off the market, and when you filter them, you'll get the newest leads. So people that just came off the market, they either canceled or expired with their old real estate agent. And those are the ones that I start with, because those, it's fresh in their mind.
so
They're
you keep it
looking
close
to,
to you, and
yeah.
then you're looking for the most recent, the freshest ones coming off of the
Yeah.
market.
S-
Okay, cool.
Yep. So Lofty's set up in a way that when I just put in one filter, the specific town I'm looking in. And when it filters it, it automatically gives you from newest to oldest.
Okay.
And at the bottom, it'll tell you how many leads in that particular area there are.
Awesome. And guys, we if you have questions about other ways, if you don't have all of those leads sitting for you, just know that we have lots and lots of other methods on how to go about getting these leads. There's great programs out there. I don't get paid to boost them, but there's like RedX and others that will go and help you generate the lists if your brokerage doesn't provide that for you. So I just want to make sure you're not left hanging. If your brokerage doesn't have these leads like what Fabian has, there are great companies like RedX. They're pretty much the big dog in the field. There are others. I will say this though, just a important note. Do not do the lead dialing and circle prospecting through your CRMs. A lot of them are just very, very poorly done because CRMs are trying to do everything. And so they don't do anything in particular particularly good. RedX does a great job. They're very affordable. They have different plans. Again, I don't get paid to tell you this, so this is just genuine, right? And the best cold callers I know swear by RedX. So again, if you do not have a brokerage that has all these leads for you, you're not left hanging. Use a program like RedX and do exactly what Fabian said, right? Which is find somewhere near you, right? Your area, and then sort through the leads you're getting from, let's say, RedX or your brokerage or whatever you have, and do it by the most recent, freshest. And I completely agree. If you can catch them early, they're used to talking, the information's in their head, and they haven't quite moved on yet. Now, that's not to say that old leads can't work. I know people who make a killing off of old leads, but I'm with Fabian on this one that if I can catch someone while they're still in that real estate mindset, that real estate mood, I don't care if they had a bad experience or not. I can handle that. But it's really hard to convert people who give up. That's a very hard battle to fight. If they have given up and moved on, they're going to be a lot harder than someone who just had a bad experience because you can deal with a bad experience. You have solutions. All right, let's get into the next slide. Do your homework. So, do your homework first. Talk a bit about that now, Fabian.
Yeah. So before, since you mentioned Redx, and so at first, before I started utilizing Lofty, this is a hack. I kind of figured it out on my own. It's not anything groundbreaking, but if you go into the MLS, you're able to pull your own list. Okay. And so you can generate a report of expireds, say the last 5 days, the last day. So I got into a habit of doing, for example, today I am now looking at expireds from yesterday. And so once I generate that list, I will cross reference that list. I will look up the property. And then under the tax information tab, now I've generated the clients or the sellers, potential sellers information. And then I will back search that name or that property address through truepeoplesearch.com, and that will get me their phone
Mm.
number. And so that's how that's how I started to do it. I don't really do that as much anymore, because
I mean, if the
Lofty
leads are given
has,
to you.
yeah, the leads are given to
Yeah.
me. But even so, the leads aren't perfect. So a lot of times the information in terms of like the phone number, contact
Yeah.
information isn't always correct. So sometimes if it makes sense to me and it's a good listing, I'll back search it and I will find that number to call them.
There we go.
But anyway, so just to getting back to how. So it's important that you kind of know who you're calling and what you're calling about, right? So give yourself as much information before the call, literally less than 60 seconds. I'll search it back on Zillow. I'll scroll down, look at the information. What did the listing expire at? What were they listed at originally? And I take it a little bit further. I scroll down a little bit more to see what that property potentially sold to that seller for
Mm.
originally. Is there a cushion? If there's a cushion and it makes sense, then I will proceed with the call. A lot of times, or what I'm seeing a lot of now is that there's people that bought here in Southwest Florida during COVID times where they were paying
Mm.
$400,000 or $500,000, and now they're asking the same $400,000 or $500,000 on a property that is really only worth 300,000. That conversation is not going to go anywhere. You're wasting your time. You're backpedaling.
Yeah.
So that's really all I do. The other reason you want to look is because depending on when you're getting to the listing, I'm also finding that property has already been listed and sold. You don't want to waste your time on those either. And so when you pull it up on Zillow, it'll say sold and what it's sold for. You don't want to waste your time. You want to keep it rolling. And, like he said, the more repetitions you get, the more it's a numbers game. It really comes down to just the numbers.
I love that you said to do research, but a lot of agents will take that too far, and research will include an hour. And you said 60 seconds. I mean, we can extract the basics of what we need to know about a property. And then if we make these calls, say at our desktop, which if you're using a dialer, you can use them on your phone, but it's also can be pretty easy to use it on your computer. If you're doing it on a desktop, I would encourage you guys to just have your MLS up and ready so that when someone does answer, you're putting in that address right away, right? If you're using a dialer, for those who don't know how dialers work, it's going to call multiple people at the same time because it's a numbers game. There's a lot of people who don't answer. And then the moment the first one answers, it goes to that call. So you don't always know if you're using a dialer. If you're doing manual dialing, meaning one on one, one at a time, you can always have the property up and ready while the call's ringing. But it's important to have, like he said, it's important to have at least a rudimentary understanding. I have had people call me, right? And they had no idea what they were talking about to me. Have you guys ever had that? Have you had people call you that clearly could care less about you, didn't know your needs, didn't know your wants, did zero research about you, and you're like, why are you even calling? Like, come on, like, you're just proving to me how little I mean to you. Like how unimportant I am. I don't want to work with people who think I'm unimportant, right? Do you guys? Do you want to work with people who think you're less important? No. So this little bit can go a long way to building trust, right? I'm going to give Fabian, I don't know if you know this, but so when I did cold calling, one of the things I did that really helped me to build trust immediately in the first two sentences was I would look at the picture. So dialers are going, one comes through, okay, I know that one, address, pull it up on the MLS, they answer the phone. Okay. I pull it up and I would look for something visually on the outside of their home to mention. Could be that they had an oak tree. It could be that their driveway was painted. It could be that their front door was red. I would find something unique about the home that they would know right away. And it would just make them feel like, oh, actually, he knows me. Actually, we're having a different conversation. This is not a generic one, right? I'd call Fabian. I'd be like, Fabian, your blah, 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 your house. Because you sometimes, depending on your style, you'll confirm it's actually them, right? And that it's their address. By the way, red door? What made you pick a red door? That's awesome. I would find a question on why they had a certain thing about their home and go straight into that. Because next thing you know, they're expecting to be on guard. They're expecting that you're going for the sale and going to try and force them into what you want. But when I would come in and I'd go, "What made you choose a red door?" They go, one person was like, well, it just came with the house. I don't know. But they still warmed up. They still started talking to me. But another person would be like, oh, well, my wife, one time, she was like, I can't ever see this, or I want to see the door. I don't even remember what it was. It was something like she wanted to be able to tell her door from everybody else's, something like that. Right. And so then all of a sudden they're talking to me and they're warmed up. And then it was so much easier to still go to exactly what I wanted still. It wasn't like I was talking to them for an hour about random crap. It was just one little thing to make this feel personal and unique that then allowed me to continue on with the things I was intentionally trying to do in the call. Because time is everything, right? You guys can't just spend hours talking to people and go nowhere. That's not productive either. So I wanted to share that because I don't do a ton of the cold calling ones, so I don't get to share that one a lot. But that's one I did that helped my conversion, like warming people up a lot. Yeah. All right, cool. Next slide.
I'm gonna have to try that. I love it. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. So step three, have the conversation, then ask for the business. Oh, this kind of sounds like what we're talking about. So why don't you take that away, Bobby, and tell us about having the conversation and then asking for the business. What does that look like?
Yeah, so I'll be honest with you. When I started cold calling and I was doing the scripts, it wasn't working. It definitely wasn't working. It didn't sound like me. I sounded like a robot. People could sense that it wasn't, I just wasn't being myself, and that did not work. And here was the turning point. I'll be 100% honest with all of you. Debbie Debbie or Laura, I can't remember who hosted a call with an agent out of Texas. Okay. And she was doing a cold calling session, and it was literally her just cold calling, going through the leads on Lofty. And that was my turning point. I sat in on that call just like we are here today, and I just watched her, and it was she made it so simple. She was just calling and introducing herself as a local real estate professional that handles a lot of listing clients. At the time when she was doing the calls, she was signing her 14th listing that day, and
Woo!
that's when I was like, man, if she can do it, I can do it too, right? But that was my turning point. I would say probably about 2 or 3 months ago, and I'm like, I got to approach this completely different. I got to try something different. It's not working.
Mm,
And so and that was it. That was my turning point. And so, there's nothing wrong with watching, like, I do it myself. So I'll spend time on YouTube or TikTok, and I watch all these gurus. And so, some of it to me sounds fake, some of it sounds good, like that whole introduction of why'd you pick a red door. That's perfect. I love that. I'm gonna have to try that and see where it goes, because that's really what it is. Like, they don't know you, right? And so you need to make a connection, and you need to make them, to allow them to put their guard down. And then by doing that, you're able to get into a conversation where you're able to peel back the onion and find out what their real problems are, right? I mean, at the end of the day, we're in a business of working with people, right? So
hmm
if we can't speak to people, we're not going to go very far. And so that was it. That was my turning point. I started making cold calls and I started approaching them a little bit differently. I would do a little bit of research beforehand, and so if the prospect gave me the opportunity to speak and ask questions and they were actually giving me answers, you could tell if they're annoyed or if you're bothering them. But once they let their guard down, I'll start asking questions, like I'm calling on expireds or canceled, and I'll ask them, why do you think it didn't sell the first time around? Did your agent give you any feedback? Did you have any showings? What did those look like? And so, I'm doing two things. I'm just trying to capture information initially, but at the same time, I'm in the back of my head, I'm setting up a game plan of how we can tackle this together, right? So I'll give you a perfect example. Since I started cold calling, I've probably landed a solid 8 listing appointments, maybe 10. I wasn't able to close all of them. I closed 4 or 5 of them in the past couple of months.
Those are good numbers.
Yeah, I mean, I would say so. I'm pretty content with it. Once I
Yeah,
got the first one, I'm like, man, this really works. I got
it
to keep
does.
at it. But again, it goes back to consistency. You got to be consistent, and I haven't been consistent lately, so I got to get back on the train. But it works. It definitely works. But let me give you a scenario of a cold call I had. This was a cold call. This was an old lead. This was not a client that had expired. Um, it came through Lofty as an expired listing. And so I get this gentleman on the call and I start asking questions. He's very friendly. We get a good conversation going. And he's like, wait a minute. He's like, I am on the market. I'm listed. What do you mean I'm not listed? And so I started digging a little deeper. It wasn't showing up on Zillow, but it was showing active on the MLS. And so I guess the biggest hangup that I am finding with expired leads or canceled leads or feedback I'm getting is that the seller or the prospect is just not content with the real estate agent. The real estate agent is not communicating, not providing any feedback. And that's not necessarily their fault if the showings aren't providing feedback, but it's important that as agents we have a duty to communicate, whether it's putting together a game plan if there are no showings or if there are no offers coming in, or just giving them feedback from showings of people that come through and look at the property. And so that's been the biggest hang up, of why they either canceled or they went expired. And
I
so,
think it's
like,
funny.
again, go
I
ahead.
think it's funny that you said the biggest hangup is the one of the biggest stereotypes, negative stereotypes about agents, which is essentially they don't communicate. They don't answer their phones, they don't answer text messages, they don't keep up with their clients. Like and then if you go to any of like top tier events and stuff like that, where the agents are there, it's funny because there's a joke you'll hear often when someone says, how are you so successful? And I like, I pick up my phone. You will hear that. I kid you not. You will hear that time and time again. I'm sure many of you have heard that joke. It is not a joke. It comes from the truth. And Fabian even just told you I didn't give him a script for this call, and he's telling you I'm calling these people in Florida, and they are telling me that one of the biggest things they are most frustrated with their agent is lack of communication. Because
Yeah.
what happens when we don't communicate, guys? Do you think that people have positive thoughts or negative thoughts when they are left in the dark, when they are left wondering? Type in the chat, positive or negative. What happens when you do not have that communication? Do you think people lean towards a positive direction? Oh, my agent must be working so hard. Things must be going great. Of course not. Yeah, right. It wasn't a trick question. The answer was obvious. We are skeptics by nature, right? And then the stereotypes around agents make people even more skeptical. They they go into relationships assuming we're not worth it, assuming we're going to be not that great at our job. And so then this lack of communication hurts people and it hurts your business. And Fabian's telling you that right now. He's like, listen, they're opening up business for me because they're just not communicating. Notice how he didn't say they were prettier, right? Or they had more reviews. That's These things are not the things that people are talking about. They're not saying they were at this brokerage and I prefer agents only at this brokerage. Despite what the big brokerages tell you, people don't care about the brokerage that you're at. They want you to make sure to reinforce that they made a good decision. At the end of the day, that is I've spoken about this a lot. The end of the day, when someone comes to a real estate agent, it's not because they often feel that they need real estate advice. I know that sounds crazy, but hear me out, okay? Most of the time, it's because they believe already that real estate is a necessary thing to do, but they feel insecure in that decision. And they're coming to someone to say, hey, am I making a good choice or not? Oftentimes, that's the heart of everything because people are so afraid of screwing this up. And then they get an agent who doesn't help them on that guidance, who doesn't reinforce the fear that's already there. And so that fear grows and grows and grows. And then they say, screw my agent. They're terrible. I'm out. That's essentially what I heard, Fabian.
Yeah,
Right?
100%. Yep. It's funny you said that because I actually make that as part of my delivery when I'm having that conversation. Because essentially, guys, if you think about it, really, we're all doing the same job, right? And so this gentleman that I was working with, I slowly started to make him realize what his real estate agent wasn't doing for him without speaking negatively about him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's kind of where the light bulb went off in his head. And he was like, you know what? He's like, you're right. Like, it shouldn't be this way. But I make that part of my delivery.
I
So
love that.
when I'm talking to these prospects, they'll ask me like, why you? Why? I mean, I can hire any real estate agent. What makes you different? And that is my exact response. I answer my phone. I communicate. I
I
text you
love that.
back. I'll be here around the clock. And again, maybe that's just me because I'm just getting started in the business, so I'm hungry. There has to be some level of balance, right? Because I've had clients that are calling me at 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night, right? But essentially, that's really the biggest hangup from most real estate agents is that there's no communication. So that leaves them
Mm-hmm.
in the dark. They think that nothing's going on. My agent's not doing anything. He's not working on my listing. He's probably busy with buyers. We have to just put their minds at ease, whether we've got stuff going on or not. A simple text message, a simple phone call, five
That's
minutes out of your
right.
day just to keep them in the loop. And that's what's going to make you successful. Um, but yeah, anyway, let me just get back to this quick call. So
Yes.
this was
Sorry.
this was one of my first listings that I landed. This gentleman was on the market for 462 days. Okay.
Wow.
462 days. The pictures on this house were 5 dark iPhone pictures that you could not see, right? And he was priced right, 100% priced right. And so my conversation with him was, listen, I know you're listed on the market. Would you be against me coming by just to take a quick look and get a second opinion? And his response, I mean, we were on the phone for 30, 40 minutes. Absolutely. Come on by. We met the next day. We walked the property. I pointed out a few things that he needed to work on, a little cleanup, some power washing. He went out of his way to, because he was already outside of his agreement with the agent, cancel his agreement with the agent, which technically he didn't have one. We were listed within a week and a half. We had the pictures done, listing, all that stuff. We were under contract in 16 hours at the same price he was
Woo.
already listed at.
Dang, let's go.
Yep.
Come on now.
Yep. Now, are you going to find listings like that every single day? Probably not. But I'm
No, they're
just
rare.
if I had not taken the time to make the calls, I would have
Exactly.
never landed it. And so
Exactly.
that was the turning point for me. Was like, man, it just the fire lit up, and I was like, I got to keep it rolling. And since then, I've landed another 3 or 4, and I've gone on plenty of listing appointments. And listen, and so that was my hang up because, like, initially I was like, okay, cool. I got the cold calling part down, right, and I'm still perfecting things that I should be saying versus not saying,
Sure.
introductions, how I should approach it, right? But what happens then? What do I do then? Like, what am I supposed to do now? Remember, I'm only 6 months into this, so I don't really know, what works, what doesn't work when I go to a listing appointment. What should I come with? What should I bring? What do I say? And that was my hang up. And again, I just I had to start doing testing things. I started
Yeah.
thinking stuff in my head, looking at videos, doing some research. How do I present myself? What materials do I bring? So, am I going too far in, or is this
No, you're
part of the
good.
next
You're
slide,
good.
bro?
You can keep
Okay.
sharing.
So here's what I did. What I spent some time coming up with. My buddy Claude now helps me with this part of my business. So I
This audience
basically
is very familiar with Claude, thanks to
okay, all right,
me.
good. So
So,
listen, Claude's helping me run my business day to day. But what I did was I actually created a a guide, my own listing appointment guide. Okay. And so what I do now as my process is I will initiate a conversation, land a listing appointment, and then as part of my outro or as part of my end of conversation, great, I'm looking forward to meeting on such and such date at such and such time. I'd like to email you over my introduction guide. This way you can put a face to the name. It'll tell you a little bit about my business. You'll see some reviews and everything that I have to offer, so that you are familiar with what I'll be bringing on our meeting day, right? It literally took me probably an hour worth of my time just perfecting it, taking things out, putting things in. But Claude did all the heavy lifting, and so that's kind of my initiation, my introduction, right? Rather than just saying,
love
okay,
that.
cool, I'll see you on Tuesday at 3 o'clock, and they have no idea who they're meeting with, right? So
Yep.
this guide has my picture, has all of my credentials, has basically everything that I offer as my marketing plan. And so then what I'll do is I will then do my research, right? And then Claude will also help me come up with a comparative market analysis report, right?
Yep.
And I'll be 100% honest. My brother's in Miami and he's looking to sell his house. I just ran a report for him the other day. It literally spit everything out in 5 minutes. I just gave him the address, the bare essentials, the floor plan, bedrooms, bathrooms. It was spot on with pricing. We had the house appraised to see if it was worth putting it up on the market. It was spot on to the dollar.
I built a
Um,
skill in Claude that
yeah, that's what I
I
did.
give away to agents so that
Perfect.
they
Let
can copy what I do for comps because it's like, if once you tweak it and get it right, it's going to get you pretty close to where you need to go, and then you
yeah.
just need to fact check it.
Yeah, man, I love it. I think it's great. And so that's what's been working for me. Initially, I'll send out that listing guide because the listing guide is about 30 pages long. So for
Hmm.
me to bring that book to and that's the other thing too, is like, you have to go into your meeting with every situation is going to be unique. Everyone's going to be different, right? Some people are going to be worried about, what's your commission? How much am I going to come out of pocket? Others are going to be worried about, maybe your marketing plan and what your approach is to get the household. So you
Hmm.
can't, the days of sitting down and okay, this is my listing guide and this is what I have to offer and this is what we'll do, and that's to me it just I feel like this has been working better for me.
Yeah,
I'll send them the listing guide or introduction guide, whatever you want to call it. Initially they can sit down, go through it, so now they're familiar with what I have to offer. And so at our meeting, it's a little bit more relaxed. It's a little bit more of, let's get to know each other. Where are you from? How old are your kids? And you want to connect. You want to, that's your chance, right? And so basically I'll just sit down, I'll bring a folder, an Epic Realty folder with my business card and the CMA report. And at some point after walking through the house and having some small talk, we'll sit down and I'll explain to them how I came up with these numbers, the different comparables in the area of what's sold versus what's actually listed. And finally, I'll ask for their business. And 9 times out of 10, I've probably only gotten out of the 10 appointments I've gone on 2 straight no's. The rest that did not list with me just didn't feel the timing is correct. Those are going to be coming down the line, I hope.
Follow-ups. So they're not
Yeah,
yet.
those are they're not yet. So they are committed to, they have certain things that are going on in their life where they're moving out of state, but they need about 6 months to be able to get the
Sure.
transition started.
Yeah, I mean,
So
real
those will
life
be
problems
coming down
happen.
the line. Exactly. Yeah. And that's the thing, in real estate, things change constantly, situations change, life happens, right? And so we're gonna get stuck with those things from time to time. But I mean, overall, again, I don't overcomplicate it. In a nutshell, that's what I do.
I love it.
If you guys take 1 to 2 hours Monday through Friday, I promise you will land at least 2 listing appointments each week.
And if you just need to convert half of them, if
That's
even
it.
that. I mean, shoot, for many agents here, closing every 2 weeks even would be pretty amazing. Would you guys agree? For a lot of you, that a closing every other week would be pretty great. Drop in the chat if that's you. Tell me, tell me. I don't want to assume. Maybe you guys are closing two every week, right? And so what Fabian's sharing with you, notice how he didn't talk about a script the whole time. I am absolutely in the camp that I don't think scripts work quite like they used to. I'm not saying they kind of do. I think they could be good for practice, meaning let me look at different flows of conversations, right? But I tried to do scripts a lot. And similar experience to Fabian, what I found was is that I was a robot and it didn't really get better over time because I was still trying to follow a script no matter what. And I'm not an actor, okay? Maybe Tom Cruise would kill it, okay? He's got scripts all day long. But for me, what I found was I just needed to know how to talk to people better, how to extract information and connect with people better. And then I just was converting at a much higher rate than trying to force a script to happen. When I was trying to force a conversation to follow a script so that I could convert, that's when people they felt that force. They felt that pressure of Robert's not listening to me. He's clearly trying to get me going down this particular path. How many of you have had a cold caller, right? A telemarketer call you and it didn't matter what you said. They would just go on to the next question. They would just push for the next thing. And if you were like, "Listen, my house is on fire," they'd be like, "Yes, well, this will only take a minute." They're not listening. But are you listening? Or are you still thinking in your head, right? I got to follow this script, right? And the listing presentations are the same thing. I have agents who come to me all the time. What's your listing presentation? Guys, I don't even use one anymore. I don't. You know what I do? And it's similar to what Fabian's saying. What I do is when I talk to them, I know what their biggest pain points are before I ever meet them in person. And then while I'm walking around the house, I'm reinforcing those that I'm the solution to their problems. Okay. And that converts a million times better because you think about it. Like, imagine you go to the doctor and you're bleeding out, and the doctor's like, "Yeah, you're bleeding out. But listen, let me talk to you about some other things first." And you're like, "Doctor, those things may be great or not, but I have a really big problem. I'm bleeding out from the arm. Can you please address these things first? Because otherwise, I'm not going to hear a word you say." Most people are like that. So when you come in with this stereotypical, generic presentation, you're boring them. It's a lecture, but they didn't hire you to be their professor. right? They hired you to get in there with them and address their fears in real time, right away. Put out the fires that are going on in their head, the fears that they have. Because if they were unafraid, just to be clear, if they were unafraid, they wouldn't hire a real estate agent. They are afraid. Every single person, I put money on this, every single person who hires a real estate agent, it's because they are insecure about their own capabilities of doing this alone. When I phrase it that way, it's pretty obvious, isn't it? But that means that they need you to reinforce that you are the solution to their problems, not the problems, their problems. And so when you're making the calls like Fabian is, make sure you're making notes. Make sure you're writing down the things that they have said that are important, the frustrations they've had, the disappointments, the issues, whether it's personal or whether it is real estate based. Write them down. And there you go. That is your listing presentation. You can address it on the phone, but you reinforce it in person. And you, just so you know, you reinforce it throughout the whole relationship. Those fears don't disappear because you said once. Those fears are always there and they rarely go away. So, like when I have clients that I know have a particular fear, I'm reminding them all the time that this is a piece of cake for me. Think of it like, right? Like, hopefully, you guys had a good relationship with your dads and you're a little kid, something's afraid, and dad is like, oh, please, that thing, no problem. I'm big, strong dad. I got this. And you're like, oh, go get him, dad. Right? You ever feel that way? Your clients want to feel that way too. They have these big fears and they're adults, which means they believe that nobody's there to save them. The world has told them they're on their own. And you show up and you're like, yeah, I know you have that fear, but big strong dad's here. I got this. I say that all the time. By the way, I go like, I got this. Like if Fabian and I, like Fabian was a client of mine, and I knew he had like a fear of like, maybe I'm trying to think of a recent client of most of them. I haven't addressed the fears up front. So, okay, I had one that was he was worried that they would just get a bunch of lowball offers, right? Okay. A lot of clients feel that way, right? But that was a big fear of his. I don't know particularly why, where that came from. I don't remember. It was a couple of years back, but it's just one I remember. And so every chance I got, his name was Chris. Every chance I got talking to Chris, I'd be like, Chris, remember what I do to lowball offers too, right? And I walk him through my process. I would teach Chris how to actually resolve his own fears with me. I would teach him. I would go, I have a plan. This is how I handle lowball offers. And I would tell him again. And I'd tell him again. And then I would start asking him, Chris, what do I do when we get a lowball offer? And then when we got a lowball offer, what did it say? Chris, what do I do? We got a lowball offer. What do we do? And then he starts telling me what we do when we get a lowball offer. That guy does not have that fear anymore. It doesn't exist anymore because through the transaction, I didn't just address it, I helped him overcome it. And his trust in me is significantly more because do we not trust more the people who solve our problems rather than gatekeep them? Right? We're kind of distrusting of people who hide stuff from us, aren't we? Right? We don't like people like that. But when someone's there for us and they actually help us overcome our fears, our struggles, do we not trust them infinitely more? This is the person who got it done. And that's all, at the end of the day, that's all Fabian's saying. Here's these problems that people are telling me they're having, and I'm focusing on those. I'm going to be the guy for you that actually addresses your fears and concerns. Forget all the other junk. That stuff I will do for you. All right. Anybody got any questions for Fabian? We got a minute or two left. And while we do that, Fabian, putting you on the spot, would you ever consider doing a challenge with agents who wanted to do calls? You said that story you gave about the woman who was on the live call and she walked you through it too. Would you ever consider doing something like that too? Just doing some dials and showing people?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
I've had agents reach out to me, two in particular that I could think of offhand, that follow me on Facebook, and they literally asked me if I would have a conversation with them. We jumped on a call, we went through the process. I'm not here to gatekeep. You know, there's plenty of pies for all of us. So I'm willing to help as much as possible. Absolutely. We can
I
do
think that
that.
could be just a really cool thing. So, who would want to be honest? Don't lie. Okay. We don't do that here. Who would want to do a session with Fabian if he did a call where he did some live calling together? Like, drop a yes in the chat for me. Okay. Because then we'll try and follow up and we'll schedule something sometime on seeing some
Yeah, and then
serious
that way I
yeses.
could show the entire process of
Yeah,
exactly what I
exactly.
do. Yeah, just
Yeah.
don't judge me if I say something that doesn't sound right. I'll do my best because I'm
Well,
still perfecting my approach. But yeah, yeah, I'd be
yeah,
happy
and
to do that
not
for sure.
everything can be a Ricky Carruth highlight reel. If you guys actually know the numbers, it's a lot of rejection. There's plenty of mistakes. There's plenty of people cussing you out. I think that's a more important thing to learn is the reality of the work because then you'll learn a lot when it goes right. Because then you'll understand the context. Oh, okay. It wasn't the script, right? It wasn't even him being perfect at words every time. It was how he relates to people, how he connects to people, even when he stumbles, even when he doesn't say the right words, right? How does he deal with that? Right? Me, I'm a humor guy. I tend to use humor, right? When I make a mistake, I tend to make a joke out of it because I like that. It disarms people, right? Other people, they'll correct themselves immediately and then keep pushing on. Or other people, they won't even correct themselves. So they'll just keep moving on. They'll just pretend that the mistake never even happened. Everybody has their style on how they do it, and you need to find yours. So that's cool. All right, we got a bunch of yeses. I love that. Yeah, he is sincere, right? You can cold call me, Fabian. Right.
Thank you.
Okay, cool. Make sure you guys sign up for the newsletter. We'll give you the replay. We'll give you the slides. We'll hook you up. And then, Misa, let's take the names of the people who said yes to this, and put them on a list. And then we'll try and get with Fabian some time and see about putting on a special training where we can come in and smile and dial together and we can listen to Fabian go through it. And um, I mean, that's a really powerful way to just get in there and do it, just to work together, to be encouraged by each other. Fabian, man, thank you. Thank you for one, just doing the work because without agents out there doing the work, we don't have these training sessions. It'd just be me
Yeah, I
every week
appreciate it.
saying the things that I do. But I like stories like yours where you're like, dude, I'm new, but I did the work and it's working. The work
Yeah.
works.
Yep.
It's a
Yep.
good
I
story.
appreciate it. Thanks so
Yeah,
much for
man.
having me on, Rob.
All right, guys. I'm gonna call it here. I try to be good on our time. Fabian, once again, thank you so much. Thanks to everybody who showed up. Make sure you subscribe to the newsletter so we can send you all the goodies. And we'll follow up with people and get that session with Fabian scheduled at some point. Okay. All right, we're good.
Thanks, guys.